All right, for the second part of this lesson, we're going to be multiplying and dividing. When you multiply two fractions together, you multiply the numerator, so top times top, and then you also multiply the denominators, or the bottom times bottom. One thing, you do not need a common denominator to multiply. That is only for adding and subtracting. All right, so then the next one, when we're dividing rational expressions, when you divide two fractions, you keep the first fraction the same, and then you multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction, which is when you switch the numerator and the denominator. A phrase that people use for this to remember dividing with a fraction is keep, oh my gosh, I cannot spell today, I'm so sorry. Keep, change, flip. So you keep the first fraction the same, you change the sign of multiplication, and then you flip or find the reciprocal of the second fraction. All right, so now when we multiply and divide, there are 3 steps that you're gonna do. The first one, you're gonna factor wherever it is possible. So both the numerator and the denominator. Second, you are gonna then do the multiplication or the division. And then the last thing you're gonna do is simplify. So we're going to start with A and C, the multiplication ones, and then we'll go to B and D for division. So our first step is to factor. When you factor, you want to make sure it's in standard form when you factor to make sure you are taking out negatives when you need to. So for this one, it is in standard form, so we're going to take out the 3 and an x, because that is the greatest common factor for those. That would leave us with x plus 2. Then on the bottom, the denominator, I can factor out an x, and that would leave you with x minus 4. Oh my goodness, my video is all over. And we are multiplying here. The second fraction, the x minus 4 on top, cannot be simplified. We can't factor anything out, but I am going to put it in parentheses to show that those are grouped together. You cannot separate the x from the minus 4, so make sure you keep those together. Then we have an x squared plus 9x plus 1. So I'm going to check if I can factor these. You want to see if there are 2 numbers that multiply to 1 that add to 9. And right away off the top of our head, that's going to be a no, because only 1 and 1 multiply to 1. So this x squared plus 9x plus 1, those are all grouped together, so I'm going to put them in parentheses. Now I'm going to multiply. And when I multiply straight across. One thing you want to make sure you don't do is do not FOIL. If you FOIL, you're going to have to just factor it back out again so you can simplify at the end. So just don't FOIL. It's going to take a lot of time, and then you're going to have to undo it anyways. So when we multiply these together, we are going to just write it as 3x, parenthesis, x plus 2. And then we're going to just plop the x minus 4 right next to that, because we are multiplying all of these together. Same thing on the bottom, we would have x times x minus 4, and then our x squared plus 9x plus 1. So we factored, we multiplied, the last thing is to simplify. So when you simplify, you are going to find common factors, or common parts that are being multiplied together. So in this, both the top and the bottom have an x. Those will simplify with each other. Then both the top and the bottom have an x minus 4, so those also simplify with each other. Now, there are no other parentheses or terms or variables that are the exact same on the top and the bottom. So that means we have completely simplified, and this is our final answer. So 3 times x plus 2 on the top, and then on the bottom we're left with that x squared plus 9x plus 1. And that is our final answer. If you want to get rid of the parentheses, you can, but that is not required to get full credit. Okay, so now why don't you go ahead and try C, and then you could skip to the end of the video to see the answer for that one if you're confident, or you can watch me walk through it. And then the next video we'll do division. Okay, so for this one, we're going to start off with factoring. So this top one is not in standard form. I'm going to change it so the x squared is first. Okay, so now remember, when the term in front of that x squared is negative, you need to factor out a negative with it. So I'm going to factor out a negative 4x from both of those terms, and that will leave me with x minus 1. Then in the denominator, I need two numbers that multiply to negative 3 and add to 2. For that one, I'm going to use 3 and 1. So I could have x plus 3 and then multiplied by x minus 1. And if I have it that way, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And then 3 plus negative 1 is 2. So that means I factored it correctly. All right, we are still multiplying times. Now for this one, I need two numbers that multiply to negative 6 and add to a positive 1. So if I do 2 and 3 and the 2 is negative, those multiply to negative 6 and add to positive 1. So I can factor that into x minus 2 and x plus 3 all over. And the 4x can't be factored at all, so we're just going to leave that. Once you factor, then you're going to multiply going straight across. So we would have negative 4x times x minus 1, x minus 2, and x plus 3 on top, all over. And then I'm going to write the 4x in the front since that one's not in parentheses. And then x plus 3 and x minus 1. After we multiply or divide, that is when you're going to simplify. So we're looking for common parts that are on both the top and the bottom. So both the top and the bottom have a 4 and an x, so I'm going to cancel those with each other. Both the top and the bottom have an x minus 1, so I can cancel those out. And both have an x plus 3. So with this, everything in the denominator canceled out. So that means we no longer need the denominator because all that would be left down there is a 1. If you write it like this, where you have the negative and the x minus 2 left over 1, that's fine. But it's not required to put the over 1, so you could write it as negative and then in parentheses x minus 2. So both of these would be counted for full credit. All right, if you have any questions on multiplying, make sure you reach out and ask. The next video we'll be doing division.